Hey, this is René, welcome back to another video on this channel. Today I'm back with another programming tutorial for a complete expert advisor working with a Parabolic SAR indicator, and this will be a scalping program. So what we see here in the chart already is, you can use any chart. This time it is the USD Japanese yen, and we see the Parabolic SAR indicators already attached. Let me quickly remove it and edit again so you can see how it works. So in your MetaTrader 5 navigator, you will find the indicators. If you open this folder, you will find the trend indicators, and here you will find the Parabolic SAR. If you drag and drop it on a chart, let me make it red so we can see it better. You can click on OK. It only has two inputs. I think the default values are 0.02 and 0.2, and yeah, if you click on OK, it will be attached to the chart and it will draw these dots. You can see every single bar has exactly one dot, and if there is a increase in price, like we see it right now here, like this, the dots are below the current price or the candles, and if we see a decrease in overall price, the dots are above the charts, the candles. And what I want to do is I want to focus on these areas here where the direction changes. So what we can do is, for example, if I can create a rectangle here, for example, the direction changes. So between these two bars here, we see that first the dots were above the bars and then the dots are below the bars, which means that we expect a increase here in the price. And what we want to do is we want to buy here at this point. And then we want to have a small TP, a little bit further SL. Maybe we can place the SL on the dots here. And then we just want to use this as a scalping entry. And sometimes, like we see it here, it takes a while for the price to reach the take profit. But sometimes, like here, it would hit the TP really fast if we use a small TP, like it's typical for scalping strategies. Okay, so this is the overall plan. Let's jump into the programming part. So let's open the MetaQuotes language editor first by clicking on this IDE button here. And what we can do here is in the upper left corner, we can click on New to create a new expert advisor. We then click Expert Advisor Template, click on Next. We choose a name, Parabolic Scalper, and then we click on Next, Next, and Finish. And this will create this Parabolic Scalper program for us. So this is a brand new expert advisor now, and right now it doesn't have any code that does something useful. What we see here is we see a lot of gray lines. Let me remove these lines, because all of these gray lines that start with 2 slashes, they're just comments. A comment is not used by the program to perform any action in the chart or in the account. It's just a information for the programmer. So it has absolutely no effect on the source code itself. Then we have 3 properties at the top. This is just a information for the user of the program, but it does not change the functionality of the program at all. So we can just remove it, and the code looks a little bit shorter, a little bit cleaner now. Now we have 3 functions left: the onInit, the onDinit, and the onTick function. And these functions always have a return type, which is int here, void here, and void here. And we will get to the variable data types once we need them. But this is how functions are built. They have a return type, a name, then they can have parameters, or in this case, the onInit does not have parameters, so there are just empty parentheses. But here, this onDinit, it comes with a parameter. So there's a little bit of a difference between these two functions. And then the most important part, I would say, is the body of a function, and the body of a function is always in these curly brackets. So we will always find a opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket, and these brackets they surround the body of the function. And the body is so important because whenever this function is called, whenever one of these functions is called, the code in their body is executed. So I will show it to you in a second, but first of all, I like to move the opening curly bracket here directly after the closing bracket of the parentheses list, and then I like to move my closing curly bracket at the very beginning of the last line of this function. This is just the style that I use. You can use any style you like. You could also move it, I don't know, here. It doesn't really change the program. You can add as many spaces or paragraphs as you like. And now we have these three functions left. And I said, whenever these functions are executed or called, the body is executed. So let's have a look, for example, at the onInit function. We can go inside of the body of this onInit function, and we can say print test, for example, like this. So we can call this print function, which is another function, and this is a function that we can use anywhere in our code pretty much to print something in the experts journal of our MetaTrader. So right now you can see there are no messages, but if I use our program here and I have this print function in the onInit function, or in the body of this onInit function, this print will be executed once the onInit function is called, because it's in the body of this onInit function. Also, this print function, it has one parameter, which is a string type parameter, and string type parameters are always is always some kind of text. So a text is usually wrapped in these quotation marks in programming. So whenever you see something in these quotation marks, you can be pretty sure it's a string type value or a text. So yeah, we can just print any text in the expert journal, and then of course we close the parentheses and we have a semicolon to end the line to tell the computer that this statement is complete. So then you can click on compile up here, and this will take your text program that you write here, or your text file, and turn it into an executable file in the MetaTrader 5. And once you compile it without errors, you can find it in the MetaTrader 5. So go back to the MetaTrader 5, go to the navigator. We can close the indicators for now, because now we will open the expert advisors folder here. And here you should find the Parabolic scalper if you compiled it correctly. I can drag and drop it on the chart, click on OK. And once it's activated, it will call the onInit function automatically. So whenever the program is activated, the onInit function of the program is called automatically. This is because it's a so-called event handling function. So whenever there's a specific event in the chart where the expert advisor is attached to, this function is called. And one of these events is the activation of a new expert advisor. Also, for example, if I change the time frame, you can see on the new time frame, the onInit function is called again. So this is the onInit function. The onDeinit function is called whenever the program is deinitialized. So I can also show you this. So whenever I change the time frame, on the old time frame, onDeinit, the onDeinit function is called. Or also the onDeinit function is called when I remove the program from the chart, like I just did here. There's one last event handling function, and I always like to say this is the important one, or the most important one, which is the onTick function, because this function, I can show it to you again in the chart. If I run the program, this function is executed. Wait, this was the wrong program. Parabolic scalper. So the onTick function, it's executed with every single tick. So you can see it's not only executed when it's activated or when the EA is activated, but instead with every single price movement in the chart, the onTick function is calculated or executed. This means that the main part of our code will be put in the onTick function. So how can we use these functions to now get the program do what we want? So first of all, we have to get the parabolic SAR values, right? Because this is an indicator and we will work with its values. And we learned before that every single bar in the chart has its own parabolic SAR value. So I now open this data window here, and you can do so by clicking on View Data Window. And you can see it has this SAR line. So whenever I move through the chart, you can see every single bar has its own value. So we try to get this value now. So when we work with indicators in the MetaTrader 5, the process of getting the indicator data is first of all tell the expert advisor or the MetaTrader what specific indicator you want to get the data from. And what we want to do is we want to create this indicator as a handle, or we want to create a description for this specific indicator. So we will create an integer variable which we call handle. And a integer variable is just a space in your memory, in the memory of your PC pretty much, where it can hold a value like this. So what you're doing is you tell the PC, I need a space in the random access memory of my PC where I can store a value, a number. And these are only numbers like this. So numbers without a decimal point. This is not an int. This is not an integer value because it has a decimal point. Integer values can only be values that do not have a decimal point. So these are integer values. Oh, no, this is not, of course, it's not a number, but these are integer values. So yeah, we could store any of these values in this handle variable. And the name of a variable, it just helps us as a programmer to address this specific point in the memory of the PC. The computer doesn't really care about the name. It's just a pointer, if you want to say so, to a specific point in the memory, or a specific place. So let me delete this. So what we want to do is, we now, so it's called a declaration of a variable. So what we do here is we declare this handle named variable of type integer or int on a global scale. So this is outside of any function. So we can use it in any function. So what we want to do is, first of all, we want to go to the onInit function, and here we want to say the handle variable, it needs to have a value. So we could store this value in the handle variable. If we compile, everything's fine, everything's working. But of course, we don't want to store just any random value, but instead we want to store a handle number, if you want to say so, in this variable. And the MetaTrader 5 or mql5 framework, it has predefined functions for the most important indicators. And also for the stochastic parabolic, we want to use the parabolic SAR indicator, and it's ISAR. So ISAR is an indicator function. So if you move your cursor inside of this ISAR word, and you then go to help mql5 reference, or you can also click F1 on your keyboard, it will open the entry in the mql5 reference. And you can see this is a technical indicator and it's called ISAR. This is a function. And you can see this function returns a handle of the parabolic stop and reverse or SAR indicator. It has only one buffer. So what does this tell us? We can also have a look here at this so-called signature of the function. A signature always contains the return value, the function name, and the list of parameters. We can learn here that when we call this function, the function will do something. We don't really know how exactly this function looks or how the body looks, but this is not important for us because we just have to know that when the function processed its body, at the end it will return one value, only one. and this is a integer type value. So we can store this integer type value that is returned in our variable of type int. Makes sense, I hope. So what we now have to do is we have to call this function and we have to provide a value for all of these 4 parameters. So the function will work with the values in these 4 parameters. So what we want to do is, the first parameter is the symbol name. So the MetaTrader needs to know for what specific symbol we want to calculate the parabolic SAR. And here we are using the USD Japanese yen chart, but a smarter way, instead of doing this, this is to just use underscore symbol. Because underscore symbol is a so-called system variable, and it will always contain, or a predefined variable, it will always contain the symbol name of the current chart. So when the program is running, or when it's activated, or when it's running, this underscore symbol variable will become replaced with USD Japanese yen. If it's running in this chart, if it's running in EURUSD, it will become replaced with EURUSD. So this is why this predefined variable is so great, because we can use it to make the code more flexible, so we can use it in any chart. Second one is the time frame, because in every time frame the parabolic SAR looks different, obviously. So we have to say what specific time frame we are looking at. And in this case we can use any time frame we like, and we can choose any of these time frames. So if you write with all capital letters period underscore, then you can choose any of these values, and I will go with H1 here. So we will use the 1 hour chart. Then as the next parameter we have the step, and as the last parameter we have the maximum. And if we go to the parabolic SAR and we can open the settings here by double clicking one of these points, we can see we find the step and the maximum. So these are the 2 values that we need to define what specific parabolic SAR we want to look at. So we will use the default values for now, 0.02 and 0.2. So it's 0.02 and 0.2. And then I close the parameter list by using using this closing round bracket, and then I write a semicolon to end the line. So if we compile this, it works. So we now have the return value of this ISAR function stored in the handle variable. And it's really interesting, because if we print this, it's not really like mind-blowing or something. The value stored in the handle variable is just 10. So you might ask yourself, what is this? So why is it only 10? Because we somehow used a complete function to create this handle or to create this value, and now it's just 10. So it's not really cool, right? But for the MetaTrader, this is not just 10, because this is the concept of using indicators in MetaTrader 5. So whenever you create a handle, it will not only calculate this number 10 and store it in this variable, but instead this function will create a complete description for this specific indicator, and it will store it somewhere in the memory of your PC. So of course it doesn't only store 10, it stores a lot more values, a lot more information somewhere in the memory of your PC. And 10 kind of just means that if you use this handle, or if you address handle number 10, so to say, you're talking about this specific indicator. And then it will not work with this number 10, but instead it will search for the description of this indicator, which is located at this specific location with a number 10, if you want to say so, and then it uses this description for the indicator. So if I would create 2 or 3 more handles, they would have the number 11, 12, 13, because they are just stored at different locations in the memory of your PC. So it knows by using this number 10, 11, 12, 13 what specific indicator you want to use. So it's just yeah, that's just what you need to know. So this number 10, it seems to be pretty unspectacular, but yeah, in the end, it's just a information that the PC needs or the MetaTrader needs to know what specific indicator you want to work with or what specific handle you're talking about. Okay, so now we created this handle here, or we created this description for a indicator, and we stored the information where this description lies in the handle variable. Now we can use the handle variable in the onTick function. So we will go to our onTick function, and what we want to do here is we want to use the copy buffer function. And we always use the copy buffer function if we want to get values from a specific indicator that we created a handle for. And you can see this copy buffer function has a whole list of parameters again. These are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters, and we will have to provide a value for all of these parameters. So the first one is an indicator handle that is requested. And here our handle comes into play because we will just provide this handle here. So the copy buffer function knows what specific indicator it has to look at and it has to get the values from, right? Then we have the buffer number. And if we remember, or if you remember the ISAR entry in the mql5 reference, it said it only has one buffer. Whenever a indicator only has one buffer, it is buffer number 0. Or you can also say main line. Then we have a starting position, and here the starting position starts always at the very right side of your chart. So if we would provide starting position 0, it means we want to get the value for the last bar here, or the latest, the newest bar. If we say 1, we start here. If we say 5, we start here or here. So you can see counting starts at the very right side, and we want to get the value for the last 2 bars. So what we want to do here is we want to say starting position is 0 and the count is 2 because we want 2 values. And now the last parameter, this one is a little bit tricky, and we learn something about a new data type because here it says this is a double parameter. And it is a double array. So what is requested here is the reference to a double array. And we can create this double array like this. So you write a double, which is again just the data type. And double values are now values that can have a decimal point like this. And we need this in most cases for price data because price data cannot be stored in integer variables. So this is a double variable, and now this is the name for this double variable, and then we could do it like this. And this would work. This would just create one simple double variable. But if we add these squared brackets, this means that it's not only one variable, but it's an array of double variables. So an array means that this is now an undefined array, but we can store multiple values in one array. So normally we can only store one value in a variable, but since this is an array, we can always increase the size of this array and store multiple values of type double in this array. So we could store 3 or 4 or 5 values in this array. And all of these values are somewhere in your memory, in the memory of your PC, and they are located next to each other pretty much. So this is why we use double arrays, if we want to store multiple values in one array variable pretty much. And we need an array because here we said that we want 2 values from this indicator. So we cannot use a single variable because you cannot put 2 values in one single variable. It's just too much and it doesn't really work. So we need this array. And yeah, if we provide this values array and click on compile, you can see all the errors are gone. And now we can get these values from the array using the indexes or indices of the array. So we can now say print values, and in squared brackets we can say we want to print the value at index 0 in this array, and we also want to print, let me add another something here, and we want to print the value at index 1 in this array. In this array it has exactly 2 indexes because the count is 2. So the copy buffer function, it will increase the size of this array to 2. So this will work. If I compile this, you can see both values are printed, but if I try to print index 3, we are in trouble here, index 2, sorry, because this array is not big enough and we get this array out of range error, and this is a critical error which will make your program crash. So make sure you only use indexes of an array that are already there. And yeah, the copy buffer function will only increase the size of this array to 2 because we said we only want to store 2 values, or we have a count of 2 values in this array. Okay, so now we have these 2 values. Let's check if they are correct. So let's run the parabolic scalper again, and we calculate the values for the parabolic SAR on the 1 hour chart. So we can check if this if this value here is now printed in the expert journal. So the value here is 144.83, and we can see this is indeed printed here. Also, this value should be printed. It's 144.772, and this is also printed. So you can see this is now, or the value for this bar is stored at index 0, and the value at this bar is stored at index 1 in our array. So now we can use a if statement to check a condition. And you want to use if statements as a control structure to structure your code, because now we want to check for buy and sell signals, and we have to make sure that a buy or sell trade is only executed if there's a signal. So what we want to do is we want to check if the value in this values array at index 1 is greater. Wait, how do we check this? We want to check if the value in this values array at index 1 is smaller than the low of the current bar, of this bar. And we can get the low of the current bar using the iLow function. This function, as we can see in the documentation, it will return the low price of the bar that is indicated by the shift parameter. And the shift parameter just works as the starting for the copy buffer. So this index 0, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and so on and so on. So we can say iLow for the current chart symbol for the period H1, of course, again, as we used it before. And now we have index 0. So we want to check if the low of the current bar, like here, is above this point. And then we want to check if the high of the previous bar is below the previous point, because then we know it's a buy signal, right? So we say and you need 2 of these and signs here to combine 2 conditions. Here we want to check if values at index 0 is greater than I high for the current symbol for period H1 and at index 1. And if this is true, then we have a buy signal. So how does this if statement work? A if statement is always created like this. You have this code word if, then you have a condition in round parentheses or brackets, and then you have a body in curly brackets, of course, because a body is always wrapped in curly brackets. So we wrote this word if here, then we build our condition, and a condition can be created using logical operators like smaller, greater, or equal. These are the most important, I think. And here we want to check if, again, this parabolic SAR value at the current bar is smaller than the low of the current bar. And then we can combine multiple conditions using the AND, or we could say it's okay if only one condition is true. Then we can use this logical OR. And yeah, here we combine two conditions. So only if this condition and this condition is true, then the overall condition for this if statement is true. So both of these conditions have to be true. And if both of these conditions are true, then we enter the body of the if statement. And only if both conditions are true, we execute the body of the if statement. So this is a way to check for by signals. Also, we can build the same if statement and we can just turn around the condition. So we want to check if there is a sell signal like this, smaller than I low, symbol period H1, like this. And make sure that your opening brackets always have a closing bracket. This is really important. This is sell signal. So we can say something like sell here and something like buy here, right? And now, since we added this print statement, we can already use the program in the strategy tester. So it's still a really short program, as you can see here. It's only 27 lines of code. So let's go back. Make sure to compile, of course, before you go back to the MetaTrader 5. And in the MetaTrader 5, we don't need the toolbox now, but we want to use the strategy tester. So go to View, Strategy Tester, and this will open the strategy tester for you. Okay, so once the tester is open, you can click on Visualize, and then you should be able to select or find your expert in the experts list here. So go for Parabolic Scalper or whatever name you chose. You can choose whatever symbol you like. It makes sense to test on the 1 hour time frame because this is the time frame that we use in our program. Choose a period. I will just go with some of the last month because just want to test how it works. And yeah, these are the important settings. And make sure you use the visual mode here. So do not forget to tick this checkbox. And yeah, then you can just give it a go. In the lower right corner, there should be a start button, and you can start your program here. And now it should load your EA with the parabolic SAR in the chart, and yeah, it should work. So you can see now we have the first sell signal, which is here at 7 o'clock, and indeed it says sell. So program seems to work so far. Here we have another sell signal. Let's wait for a buy signal. There was a buy signal at 16 o'clock or 15 o'clock. And yeah, you can see this works. So far it kind of works, but we get this buy signal kind of often. So let's open the position and see what happens. Let's go back to the program. And whenever we want to open a position in MetaTrader 5, the easiest way and the recommended way is to use the ctrade class. So it's trade/trade.mqh. This is the file that we want to include. So write #include at the very top of your program. And then in these smaller than and greater than sign, you write trade/trade.mqh. I mean, just copy the line like I wrote it here. And this will give you access to the ctrade class. So you can now go here and say you want a object of type ctrade. This is object-oriented programming, a topic that I do not want to dive in detail, but it's just important that you include this file before you're able to actually write this line here. And yeah, this will create a object of type ctrade, and we can now use this object to open positions. So let's go here where we have our buy signal, and instead of writing buy, we want to say trade.buy because this will open a buy position. So we have to provide the volume, and we can say 0.1 lots. Then we have a symbol, and usually what you want to trade the symbol in which the EA is running. So again, underscore symbol is the way to go. Then we need a price, and we want to open a market position at the current price. So you can just say 0. You have the option to provide a stop loss and a TP. We don't do this now. We will do it in a second. And then we can have a comment which is a string type value, of course. So we can say parabolic scalper buy, something like this. And this will open a buy position. And you can see if I compile, there's no error. And we can do the same thing for sell positions here when we have a sell signal. So let's go here, say trade sell. And then we have the volume again. We have the symbol. We have price, SLTP, and the parabolic S or scalper sell signal. So if we compile this and we run the same program again, we don't change anything. We just start the tester again. And you can see instead of just printing this buy and sell, we will now open positions if there's a signal. And we will open a bunch of positions, which is probably not really what we want. So this is a really important thing when it comes to programming. You have to make sure that you don't mess it up. So what we want to do is we want to keep track of these trades, or we want to make sure that we only execute only one trade per bar. So the best way to do this is I would suggest that we do something like this. We will create a global variable of type int where we have the bars total, or which we call bars total. And we will use this variable in the onTick function soon. But here we will create another variable which is called bars. And here we want to say we want the return value of the ibars function. And this function returns the number of bars in a chart. So we want to say for this symbol, for this time frame, which is just this chart, we want the number of bars. And this is a huge number, like 10,000 or something. And then we want to check if the bars total variable has a different value than the bars variable. So we are comparing the value in this variable, which is at the moment 0, with the value in this variable, which is 10,000 or 20,000 something. And if these values are different, which we can check by using this exclamation mark, equal sign, not equal operator, we can say if this is true, this is again an if statement, and this is the condition. And if the condition is true, we want to get in the body of this if statement. And then we want to execute all of this. So move all of this to the right to make sure that you can easily see that it's in the body of this if statement. So we want to do everything here if these values are not equal. And the trick is now after opening a position, we say bars total is equal to bars. And this is the whole trick. So we can say whenever we open a position, we want to update the bars total variable with the bars value. So with the next tick, these values are the same. So we do not enter the if statement's body again. And this works because the bars total variable is declared on a global scale. So it's not deleted or resetted when the onTick function terminates. This is really important. So if we compile this and start the same machine again here, the same program again, you will see a whole new story here, a new outcome. So you can see we only open one position now with every single signal, which is so great because now we can take care of the TP and the stop loss, and then we kind of already have a program that works completely automated, because right now you can see nothing is closed. So this is not a good program. So what we want to do is we want to make use of these parameters that we didn't use up to this point. So we have the SL and TP parameter in the parameter list of the buy and sell function. But we can easily use them, and we want to create variables for this. So we want to have this stop loss, and here we want to place the stop loss at this point here of the parabolic SAR. So it's really easy here. We can just say stop loss should be equal to values at index 1. And this kind of goes for the buy and sell. So we can calculate the stop loss like this. The TP is a little bit more complicated because here I think we want to have a fixed amount of points. So what we want to do is we want to get the price that is at which the position is opened. And for a buy position, this is the ask price. So we can use this symbol info double function, which is again a function that is part of the mql5 framework. We can use it right away. And it will give us a double information about the current symbol or the symbol that we define as a first parameter. We will use the chart symbol, of course. And the second parameter can be any parameter of this list. So, what was this? So we can say symbol underscore ask, for example, to get the ask price. So if we define the parameters like this, it will give us the ask price for the current chart symbol. And now we want to take this ask price and we want to add, let's say, 100 points. So you can write 100 multiplied with point. And point is always just like the smallest price change. So you can see here, I don't know, these are 200 points, 0.205. And we want to use 100 points here as a TP, so it's this distance here. And yeah, you can calculate it like this. And if we now calculate it like this, we can use these variables as SL and TP here for a parabolic SAR scalper for the buy positions and also for the sell positions, of course. But here we want to calculate the TP a little bit different. We will use symbol info double again, but instead of the ask price, we want to get the bid price because the sell positions are always open at the bid price. And of course, the TP has to be below the current bid price. But then the rest is the same. We will use SL and TP here as the parameters. And yeah, that's kind of it. So let's go back to the program, to the tester, and let's start it again in the MetaTrader 5. And let's see if these stop loss and TP levels are placed. And there we had the first trade, and this trade was closed in the TP here. So I think this kind of works. So let's wait for another trade here. Maybe. Well, this is just too fast, but yeah, I mean, it's a good thing because it's a scalping strategies and scalping strategies should be fast, right? There you saw it, there was a TP and a stop loss. I want to catch one of these trades here, but I have to be really careful so I don't miss it again. So with the next signal, I try to catch the trade as soon as it's opened. And there it is. Okay, so you see, once the signal is there, we will see a trade. And the TP is 100 points, or should be 100 points above the current open price, or the open price of this position, or the current ask price. And there we see, yeah, it's around 100 points. If you get some slippage, it could be a little bit less, of course. And the stop loss is at this parabolic SAR point down there. So yeah, if we just speed this whole thing up, you can see it's working completely automated, and this is super great. And that's the power of automation for automated trading programs. And yeah, you can now also see like the performance of this. Okay, it's not looking too great, but maybe you can change the inputs or the variables here. Maybe 200 points as a TP will change this, because 100 points is not really a lot for a 1 hour chart. And yeah, I think this made the test already a little bit better. Now you can see the TP, all the TPs were 200 points away. And yeah, you can do a lot of stuff here. You could also say that you want to add a trailing stop, which always uses the points here of this parabolic SAR. And I already have videos for all of this on the channel, so you can just learn how to add a trailing stop, and maybe you can modify this this strategy. But yeah, for now, I think this is it for this tutorial. In this tutorial, you learned how to write a really easy scalping strategy with just under 50 lines of code for the parabolic SAR indicator. And you could use any indicator, of course. You will just have to change the handle a little bit, and you will have to change the conditions a little bit. But this is how you can create a trailing, a scalping strategy for every indicator pretty much. So if you like this kind of programming for the media trader, and if you see the chances that it provides, then you might also want to check out the link in the video description as well. There you will find a link to my webpage where I also have complete programming courses where you learn everything in much more detail. Also like all the variable data types, all the control structures that are important. You also learn stuff about object-oriented programming, so you understand how and why we use this C-Trade class. So make sure to check this out, and yeah, make sure to use this program, do some tests in different symbols. You can of course easily change the symbol to for example USD Japanese yen, start the same test again, and you will have a complete different outcome because it's just a different symbol. And that's the power of automation. You write the code once and you can use it in every symbol and every time frame you like. So yeah, hope you like this. Have a good time trading, and see you in the next video. Have a great time. Good trades. Bye bye.